Remember when you said when you look at a commentary, no matter where it comes from, as long as it, so then that would separate the man from the ministry, right?
There are theologians that are Protestant who earlier on in their ministry wrote some amazing books and commentaries, but as they got older, they began to change their views on things. The question then is, should we still benefit from their earlier works? In this particular, it depends if they're a false teacher or not, but in this case, it's like a secondary doctrine, but somewhat linked to primary, somewhat, but not quite linked to primary or close-handed doctrine, major doctrine. But and this man has died for many decades now. Okay, but I've heard, and this is also my view too, although it really depends on each person's feeling towards this kind of stuff. I'm being very narrow in this because you can't really generalize what I'm saying to like everybody or every situation. But in this particular case, there are still quite a few many theologians and pastors that benefit from his earlier works because those were well written. But usually the case is when I think the heart of the question/concern is, should we separate the man and his ministry, the man and his work, particularly in our age where things can be, well, not just our age, but I mean, things are already, I mean, we have printing of books, for the past 500 years and whatnot. But anyway, but in terms of electronic, like video, audio, sermons, video, sermons and lectures, the main barrier is at the level, not so much of whether those works that were good and are still good. Like if you just look at it, like if you didn't know the person, you're like, let me just read it. Like if it was a faceless sermon, you know what I mean? And you couldn't tell by the voice, or if it was like an authorless book, but it's only the words, only the content, you'd be like, this is pretty good, you know? But I think the challenge, of course, is not at the level of whether the content in and of itself is beneficial. Of course, it's the person and our perspective from a relational point of view and our own conscience or uncomfortability, right, towards this person. And it's hard for me to say, make a principle that applies to every single person. It's hard for me to, in every single case. But I listed some ways of approaching this that is important to kind of process through regarding what's the category, how deep it is, how long has it been, is he dead? You know, like honestly, or is she dead? I guess it was, well, some